I'll be the one to say it. I don't care if it's copium or jealousy, but I have to say the warlock exotic class item is so bad. But before I get into the bad parts of it, there are definitely some really good parts. Spirit of the Filaments is really good because it frees up an aspect slot, which allows for flexibility in builds. You have Spirit of Harmony, which can now generate a ton of super energy on match super element weapon final blows because they completely remove the cooldown on the actual perk of the armor like proccing. So you can definitely just go crazy. Like right here, I'm using the Pro Memoria Strand machine gun, and it generates a ton of super energy, not only because I'm using 3 Pale Heart weapons, which all have dealer's choice, which stack with how many Pale Heart weapons you're actually using, but that bonus super energy from dealer's choice is stacking with Energy Siphon. So I'm getting like 9 quadrillion energy like per kill. And I was only killing miners there. Like imagine if I was like shooting orange bars and like killing orange bars and stuff. Like I would have my super probably within like 10-20 seconds, like no joke, if there was like a whole bunch of ads there. And then there's Spirit of Osmiomancy, which refunds a ridiculous amount of grenade energy when paired with Devour. So just looking at the numbers here, we have on red bars it refunds 10% energy, on orange bars it refunds 22% energy, and then on majors it refunds 34% energy, and then on ultras like mini bosses and bosses it refunds 50% energy. So obviously that is a lot of energy that you can get. And if you're using a grenade that lingers, this can proc multiple times, so you're going to be getting a lot of grenade energy, especially when stacked with Devour. So it is just so good, and especially if you pair it with something like Spirit of Verity, where that's going to increase your grenade damage. If you get kills with weapons matching your grenade element, it's going to give you a stack of death throws, and that can stack to a maximum of 5 times, which will give you 100% increased grenade damage. Your grenades are going to be deadly. Like, you're gonna have some deadly ass grenades. Now, Spirit of the Apotheosis is another popular one, but me personally, I don't like it at all that much because I like exotics that improve my neutral game, and being an ability chucking monster for 7 seconds after my super is not really like that appealing to me. But I do know a lot of other people like running it, so yeah. And then one of my favorites is Spirit of the Necrotic because extra dot damage and added clear, and plus you can pair it with like the Weapons of Sorrow, which is really cool, and that will allow you to spread the poison with the gun, which is nice because then that way you don't have to go around meleeing everything to, you know, spread poison, and it just makes it a lot easier. So that little like interaction is really nice to have. And of course you have Assassin, Star Eater, Immos Light, Syntheseps, Ophidian, and Spirit of Verity. All 6 of those that every class item can get, with Star Eater easily being the best of the 6, which also transforms a Nova Bomb into a literal hollow purple. You know, just desecrating literally anything it touches because of the 70% damage increase it gets from Star Eaters. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But getting into the bad, first of all, I know it's on every other class item, but get Spirit of the Ophidian out of here, please. This perk is really only here for the PvP players, and I am very aware of that. I know that it's very cool to the PvP players, but there are so many other things in the game that can improve weapon ready speed. Getting this on a piece of armor, or sorry, getting this on every like roll that I obtain for my class item makes me very sad, because it's like you only have one exotic perk on your class item, because this virtually does nothing. Spirit of the Ophidian. Weapons ready very quickly. How not useful? What is this actually even doing? What is it doing? It literally does nothing. And I know it says improves weapon ready speed, but to me that is literally nothing. Anything is better than this. Literally anything. If I could, I would easily replace this with probably Spirit of the Karnstein, where melee kills apply Restoration and Cure to allow for more survivability and make that available on every other class item instead of Spirit of the Ophidian, because dexterity mods are literally in the game. So yeah. Next up, on the chopping block, we have Spirit of the Swarmers. Now, before Final Shape, the Swarmers was one of those exotics that was pretty much just I'm putting this on because I don't know what else to put on exotic. And although the extra utility was a nice niche function where popping a tangle spawns 2 Threadlings and then Threadlings like unravel, Threadlings on Prismatic are not that good because we don't have access to Thread of Evolution to increase the speed and damage of those Threadlings. So, you know, it's a little like sad popping a tangle and then the Threadlings like don't even do anything, and it's like super underwhelming. It's like, why? Like, this doesn't even, I can't do anything with this. And then, you know, We do have the one aspect where it's like, popular class ability for more threadlings, and dealing strand damage has a chance to generate a perched threadling. Bro, threadlings are not good on prismatic. Like, that's just the sad part. Like, there's nothing you can really do. But if I'm a little ambitious here, a little ballsy, if you will, I would, instead of Spirit of the Swarmers, I would put Spirit of Matadoxia, where finishers trigger a large suspending detonation, and that would be the detonation that happens when you do 3 back-to-back needles. Now, this spirit, I know, could probably get a little out of hand, so to balance this, I would probably put a 10-second cooldown in between finishers triggering this effect, just because if you're going around rapidly just finishing everything you see, it's probably gonna be a problem. Maybe like a 10 to 15 second cooldown on this effect triggering. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what's the point of the actual exotic? But here's the thing, with the spirit, you're actually losing out on a ton of other functionality that other exotic has. You're not getting anti-barrier needles, you're not getting refunded melee energy off defeating suspended combatants, and probably one of the larger losses, you're not able to suspend targets from range because you will have to go up to a target to do a finisher to allow that suspending detonation to happen. So this is very well in line with the intentions of what spirits are supposed to be, while making both the actual exotic and the spirit functional for their own separate reasons. But the thing about the spirit is that it allows you to be a little more creative with your build crafting. So you could probably pair this with Facet of Defiance, which causes finishers to create a detonation that either jolts, scorches, slows, severs, or makes targets volatile based on the damage type of your equipped super. And because this spirit is replacing Spirit of the Swarmers, which is in the right column, you'd be able to pair this with Spirit of the Assassin, so you go in, get a finisher, turn invis, everything around you is suspended and debuffed by an elemental verb, and then you get out. So I think that'll be a really cool combo to see in action. And don't even think about going into the comments and then being like, isn't that a little overpowered? Have you seen what hunters can do? Do not even get me started with hunters this episode, this season. I literally don't care. Like, they're the #1 class right now. They can do 9 bajillion things. They just do way too much. They just do way too much, and I'm mad about that, because this episode literally made me switch to a hunter. Like, I'm on a hunter now, so I don't know. They have Spirit of the Caliban, where powered melee final blows trigger an ignition. So that's literally that. But yeah, like I said, Spirit of Matadoxia would be like really cool, because it would allow for really nice ad control, similar but not as potent as Weaver's Trance on Strand Warlock, and would do justice for the lack of suspending capabilities the Warlocks have on Prismatic. I really feel like Bungie saw what they did with Weaver's Trance and did not want to recreate that, that sort of crazy ad control anywhere else. But Matadoxia as a spirit would be just enough control to where it's balanced, because it only comes from one source, just only a finisher, and it's reasonable in today's sandbox. Now, Spirit of the Vesper would have been like okay if it procced on Phoenix Dive just on the initial impact, similar to how the explosion happens with Heat Rises, but it doesn't. So we are replacing this one with a hypothetical Spirit of a Conviction, where jolting nearby targets grants you damage resistance. With this one, I removed the bouncing explosives because on Warlock you can already jolt targets with Lightning Surge, so in this case, using Lightning Surge would grant you damage resistance that you could stack with like maybe Woven Mail or Frost Armor. I know, it's crazy. I'm putting in the new exotics as spirits. I don't know how y'all feel about that. Oh, I just hit the mic. But yeah, not much to say there, really. I would just want to see literally anything else besides periodic Rift Shockwaves that don't even like do anything, like it doesn't blind or anything. So getting this one is also pretty useless on a class item, so just replacing it with this just to allow it to give you damage resistance sounds a little better than just a Rift Shockwave that can only kill trash mobs. And the damage reduction that it gives will work the same way as the actual Hunter exotic, where jolting gives you 2 times resist, and then jolting additional targets grants you ×4 resist, so you end up with 50% damage resistance. Just to give that little bit of edge, just because it's not doing a lot, but when it does the one thing it can do, it does it well. Now, for the next spirit that really isn't so great on the exotic class item is Spirit of the Stag, and it provides damage reduction to guardians standing inside a rift. And so the reduction given is a ×2 reduction, so it gives you a 25% damage reduction, but at the same time, it's only 25% damage reduction. If you're on Prismatic Warlock, you're gonna be using Phoenix Dive. Like, that's just how it is. You're gonna be using Phoenix Dive because there's a lower cooldown, and if you're running the Hellion aspect, you can proc that more often because Phoenix Dive has a lower cooldown. So when you get Spirit of the Stag on a class item, it is also just not the best thing in the entire world. What I would replace this one with is another, hypothetical spirit of Fellwinter. And for this one, obviously, it would just be power melee final blows weaken nearby targets. For those of you who don't know, the normal Fellwinter's Helm exotic applies a 30% debuff to those targets that are weakened. So on the spirit, we're gonna dial it back. Instead, we're going to put a 15% debuff on the weakened targets and make it so that the range at which these targets can be weakened is only limited to 15 meters. So this way, instead of having a rift that gives you 25% damage resistance, which is not even that much, and plus nobody is even going to be standing in it in the first place because nobody even probably saw you put it down, you have added utility to your powered melee so that you can weaken things around you, which is far more useful than 25% damage reduction, which I can get 30% with just tier 10 resilience. So yeah, and this would also be really good because you could pair this with Syntheseps, and that way your melee is doing a ton more damage, and that way you could just probably fling an Arcane Needle and then boom, everything's weakened because whatever you just threw that needle at is dead. Next up, we have Spirit of the Claw, which is really not needed because we have Arcane Needle on Prismatic, and that gives you 3 melee charges, so why would you want a 4th one that can't even be chained with the 3rd throw? My next replacement for Spirit of the Claw would be Spirit of the Chorus, where Scorch does improve damage and each tick it gives you melee energy. This might seem useless at first, but the damage increase from the spirit would be the same as the actual exotic, so it would be a whopping 200% increase on your Scorch values, which might seem like whoa, hold on, bro, that's too much for a spirit, but it's actually not because it's just improving your Scorch. And on Prismatic Warlock, your Scorch can only come from 3 things, which is the super, the melee, which is a snap, and then your Hellion aspect. So it's not like you're applying Scorch 24/7, but it would be pretty often. Now the second half of the spirit, where Scorch damage grants small amounts of melee energy, I think maybe instead of each damage tick giving back 5%, it would probably be like maybe 3 or 2.5%, because in those moments when there is a ton of enemies and you're in a very enemy dense area and you're scorching everything with probably a weapon with incandescent, it's going to give you a lot of melee energy back. But then again, that depends on the situation, so that part of the spirit is not always going to be helpful or useful rather, but it would still be there when you need it. And with that, those are my suggestions as to what spirits I would replace with what. To me, just half of the spirits that are available on the exotic class item for Warlock just seem a little underwhelming, and I know that that might be the point of spirits, but I just don't really agree with, oh, some of these spirits are really good and some of these spirits are really bad. I would want to see everything be useful in their own way, and people can just build off what they like the most. So yeah, I don't know, let me know what y'all think, because I am only 18 years old and 18-year-olds tend to be kind of stupid, so just let me know if I'm actually like cooking or not, because I would want to see like everybody else's opinion on this and like how they feel about it. So yeah, I'll see you whenever I decide to upload again.